I never thought this day would come. The kind where silence carries more weight than words, where every memory presses down like a storm you can't outrun. If you had told me a year ago that my stepson and I would be sitting across the same kitchen table, sharing tea and secrets neither of us ever planned to voice, I would have laughed. Or maybe cried. But here we were, and what unfolded that evening changed everything, for him, for me, for us both. Michael Hayes had never believed in second chances, especially not with family. He grew up with a father who was steady, strong, and disciplined, the kind of man who made rules feel like law. But when his father, Richard, remarried late in life, Michael couldn't accept it. I had walked into their world when Michael was already an adult, and though I tried to be kind, tried to be present, to him I was nothing but an intruder. I was polite. I stayed in my lane. But I was never welcome. Now, standing in front of the house Richard had built with his own 2 hands, Michael carried a tension he couldn't name. The autumn wind pressed against him, sharp with pine and smoke. He pulled his coat tighter as his gaze swept over the quiet structure that once overflowed with warmth. It had been a year since his father passed. 12 long months. And he hadn't returned once, not until I called. When I opened the door, his eyes flicked over me, quick but lingering, before darting away. He barely spoke as he stepped past me, though I could see the weight in his shoulders, the unspoken questions burning beneath his silence. I wasn't sure you'd come, I admitted, moving aside. My voice trembled in a way I hoped he didn't notice. Inside, the house smelled of cinnamon, his father's favorite. Maybe it lingered out of habit, or maybe it was memory that refused to fade. He stood in the middle of the room, his jaw tight, eyes tracing the walls as though searching for ghosts. I appreciate you coming, I said softly. There's something important we need to talk about. If this is about the house, I already told you I don't want anything to do with it. His voice was clipped, harsh, though I could hear the grief buried in it. It's not about ownership, I replied, steadying myself. It's about your father's last wish. His head turned sharply, suspicion flashing in his eyes. His wish. I nodded. He asked me to make sure this house remained a home, not just a building. He wanted it filled with love, not left to gather dust. Michael scoffed, but the edge in his expression wavered. He knew we weren't close. He also believed people could change, I said quietly. He thought time might help. For the first time, he really looked at me. Not just at the woman who'd replaced his mother, but at a woman who had also lost him, too. His father was gone, and all that remained were 2 broken people caught in the same ache. The silence stretched between us until finally, he exhaled. I don't know if I can do this. I'm not asking for more than a chance, I told him, forcing my voice to stay gentle. A chance to honor him together. Something flickered across his face, a shadow of pain, a glimmer of surrender. Later that night, we sat at the kitchen table. I poured 2 cups of tea, hands trembling just enough to betray the storm beneath my calm. He didn't speak, but I caught him watching me, his eyes following the way I moved, the way I slid the cup toward him. My fingers brushed his by accident, and the contact sent a jolt through me that I quickly buried beneath polite composure. There's something else, I whispered, hesitating. Your father left a letter. He wanted you to read it. His head jerked up, startled. A letter. I placed the envelope on the table. He stared at it for a long moment before finally opening it, unfolding the paper with hands that weren't as steady as he wanted them to be. His father's words spilled into the room, fragile yet heavy. Michael, I know you carry anger in your heart. I know I caused it. I never meant for Claire to replace what we lost. I just wanted to find joy again. I only wish I had more time to help you see that love isn't betrayal. It's a gift. Take care of her. Not out of duty, but because she deserves it. Michael blinked rapidly, fighting emotion. His father had never been a man of many words, yet here they were raw, aching, impossible to ignore. I never wanted to come between you and him, I said, my voice cracking. You didn't, he whispered. I just thought if I accepted you, it meant letting go of my mother. Tears stung my eyes. Love doesn't erase the past. It just makes room for more. He looked around the room then, softer, the bitterness unraveling thread by thread. I want to help, he said suddenly. With the house. With everything. Something in my chest loosened. I'd like that. The weeks that followed unfolded in ways neither of us had expected. Michael returned again and again. He scrubbed, repaired, replaced. With every brush of paint, every nail driven into wood, I watched him change. The walls that once carried only grief began to hum with life again. We found photographs tucked in books, scribbled notes in margins, tiny glimpses of the man we both loved. Sometimes we worked in silence, but it wasn't the heavy silence from before, it was the kind that felt safe, even comforting. And sometimes, his eyes lingered on me just a little too long. I'd catch him watching me from across the room, and though neither of us spoke of it, I felt it, the pull, the dangerous warmth. One evening, we sat together on the porch, the stars sharp and endless above us. The night was crisp, the kind that pressed against your skin and made you aware of every heartbeat. I used to think letting go meant forgetting, Michael said quietly. Letting go just means making room for what's ahead, I answered, my gaze fixed on the stars. When I turned, he was looking at me not as his father's widow, not as the outsider I once was, but as something more. My breath caught, and for a moment, the world felt unbearably fragile. Richard's greatest gift hadn't been the house. It was this, the chance to rebuild, to reconnect, to begin again. And for the first time in years, Michael wasn't alone. Neither was I. And maybe, just maybe, that was what his father had hoped for all along.